Today, I want to talk more about leadership and why we have a crisis in leadership. We have a crisis in leadership because we have no standards for leadership. We've removed all standards. And so now we have unqualified leadership everywhere. I talked about this yesterday as I was talking about Redick and Bill Belichick and everybody else that has abandoned standards and just common leadership principles. This is pervasive throughout all of American society. And I'm going to connect the dots today and show you a judge in Atlanta, completely unqualified for the position. And then I'm going to connect it and show you how you can see all of this in the sports world. You can see it everywhere. Stay tuned. This is going to be another great edition of Fearless. Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Wednesday. We have an awesome show planned for you today. TJ Moe and Kevin Donahue will be here in studio with me. Virgil will join us via Skype for some Tennessee Harmony. The entire topics that we'll cover today will all connect. I'm going to walk you through the real world and what's going on in the public square and in the judicial system and in the real world. And then I'm going to take you to the sports world to show you how this is all a reflection of men and our failure to accept standards, to adhere to standards, to insist on merit in this society. This is how we got here. This is why we have so much chaos in America. I'm going to connect a lot of dots today, from Antonio Pierce to Redick to Bill Belichick to, wait for it, Deion Sanders. I'm going to bring primetime into this discussion. But we'll start with a woman, Christina Peterson. But before I do, keep that name in mind. I'm going to walk you through Christina Peterson and how she connects to all of this. But I also, guys, want you checking out the extra Fearless content. For those of you that are Blaze TV subscribers, you can get more of this show and special conversations that only Blaze TV subscribers get. Today, we'll have an extra conversation, myself and TJ Moe, about Jamal Bowman. You know, the congressman from New York that he just effed around and found out and got run out of office. You got, Jamal Bowman, we're going to find out who the F we are. That guy, the nutty guy that argued with Thomas Massey. Anyway, TJ Moe and I will discuss that, but you need to be a Blaze TV subscriber. Go to blazetv.com/fearless. Use the promo code fearless, and you can save $20 on your yearly subscription. Today's awesome episode of Fearless, that I'm telling you, this is going to be awesome, is brought to you by our good friends at Good Ranchers. Use my promo code fearless at goodranchers.com, and with your subscription, you can claim $100 off plus free smoked brats for a year while supporting veterans this Independence Day. It's time to revolt and claim your independence from the grocery store meat aisle. Thank you so much, Good Ranchers, for allowing me and us to do what we're going to do today and what we try to do every day on this show, and that's help tune your mind and give you a biblical worldview about what's going on in American society, and paint for you and help explain to you the cost of the abandonment of a biblical worldview and biblical standards. I'm not telling everybody that they need to be, some dyed-in-the-wool, Bible-thumping Christian. Now, trust me, that's what you need to do, but I'm not going to insist on it. You can do whatever you want. I do want you to recognize the cost of a society that turns away from biblical values and biblical principles, and this whole abandonment of standards and merit. This is a rejection of biblical values and biblical principles, and we're all paying the price. There's a video circulating over social media in the past 48, 24 hours of a judge in Atlanta. Her name is Christina Peterson. She's 38 years old. And when you watch this video, the number one thought I got was like, how can she be a judge? How? I don't care what her GPA is. I don't care what degree she got from whatever college. I don't care if some Ivy League school stamped approval on her. I want to play you this video of Christina Peterson and her interaction with law enforcement. And trust, I think she got elected a judge in the Atlanta area in Georgia in 2020. And almost immediately there started being complaints about her incompetence and her doing crazy things to people. There was a woman that immigrated here and became a citizen here, that there was a mistake on her maiden name, her husband's name wasn't on her identification, and she wanted to change it. And somehow this Christina Peterson put this woman in jail for 20 days. I'm not doing the story complete justice. You have to look it up. It was crazy. This woman made an honest mistake that she was trying to honestly correct, no ill intentions, no anything, and she wound up in jail because of Christina Peterson. So there's been misconduct complaints about this woman almost instantly from the moment she became a judge. She just got disqualified or pushed out as a judge, and police in the Atlanta area released this footage, which was kind of like the final straw, and is like the justification, like, this is why we have to get this incompetent woman out of her judgeship and out of this position. Watch this 2-minute clip of her. She's at some nightclub in Atlanta. Look at the way she's dressed. Listen to the way she's talking. Does any of this look like a judge? Play the clip.
For what? I wasn't cuffed. I wasn't when it needed to. Shut the f up. You look like a who was trying to eat on this before, and I never let him. Relax. Shut the f up and stop touching me.
Don't.
Yeah, stop touching me. Get the f off of me. Stop touching. I got it. I can walk on my own. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. I got it. I can walk on my own. Don't touch me.
You're preventing
Take
that.
me. I could give a damn. Take me where you want to
So
take me.
how do you want me to take you somewhere
now?
expeditiously?
Now. Take me where you want to take me. No! No! Just let that nigga run on the female. No! He just touched me. Everything for no reason. Right, hold on. Let him go. Let him go. Let him go. Let him go.
That's a cop.
And that's on me. No, I didn't. No, I don't punch. No.
Ma'am.
Take me where you want to take me.
I can't take
No,
you. I don't
take
have any
me.
identification on
And
me.
I don't care. You don't need the identification. You have
I
locked
do.
people up, and you have picked up dead bodies when you don't know who bodies it was,
Ma'am.
but you picked them up.
Ma'am.
Take me where you need to take me.
I'm trying to.
No, take me where you need to take me immediately, expeditiously.
You're preventing
Take
that.
me. I could give a damn. Take me where you want to
So
take me.
how do you want me to take you somewhere
now?
expeditiously?
Now. Take me where you want to take me.
So just for clarity, some of that footage, she wasn't the one on the ground getting put in handcuffs. I think that was a friend of hers that was causing the disturbance outside this nightclub. A police officer who was working at the nightclub and security was trying to deal with this woman. And then you could see the judge fussing, fighting, arguing with cursing at law enforcement, and eventually the judge gets handcuffed and put in the back of a squad car. How? There used to be, like, and again, maybe it was all make-believe, but there was a standard of behavior that came along with certain positions. I'm a judge. I decide whether someone goes free or goes to jail. I'm in control of people's freedom, of to some degree of their rights. And so there's a way that I have to carry myself 24/7, 365, so that my character, my reputation is never smeared. This goes along with the position of leadership when you're a person of authority and you have power over other people. There's a way you have to carry yourself 24/7, 365. We've rejected all of that. This woman is dressed, first of all, this is me. And I call me old, call me an idiot, call me unrealistic. I don't want judges that are going to nightclubs. What judge goes to a nightclub at 38? The nightclub days are 18 to maybe 25. And look, I know that I was an idiot. And I was in nightclubs until age 40, 45. I was an idiot, but I wasn't a judge. I didn't want to be a judge. I wasn't qualified to be a judge. I was an idiot, and I played the role of an idiot. Who signs up to be a judge and says, you know what, I'm going to hit a nightclub, and I'm going to have part of my breast halfway exposed as I go out. I'm going to be cursing and clearly having had a little too much to drink. I'm going to be dropping N-bombs. I'm going to be disrespectful to law enforcement. I'm going to be dressed like an in-shape Lizzo. That's the best I could do there. That if Lizzo were in shape, that's what she would look like and would probably dress like. This is off the table for a judge. But this, and again, this is Atlanta. This is where Fannie Willis, and I meant to ask y'all to get, and I forgot, but I wanted, remember when Fannie Willis in that hearing they were having about whether to remove her, and she was talking about someone giving her money, or she loaned someone money, or they paid her back, blah, blah, and she just talked like a ghetto drug dealer. I was like, this is a prosecutor talking like a ghetto drug dealer, using the slang of a ghetto drug dealer. Where are the standards? Where are the people stepping up to the leadership positions they've been given and carrying themselves and presenting themselves in a respectful fashion at all times? This has all been eliminated. And I know right now you're sitting there thinking, there's Whitlock again, beating up on black women. I'm beating up on men. That's where we're going to direct and pivot this conversation, because it's men who have rejected the responsibilities that go along with leadership, rejected the standards that go along with leadership. We have lowered the expectation and the bar on everything. Anybody can be a boss. Anybody can be a leader. That's why we have, I'm a girl boss. I'm a queen. I'm this, I'm that. I should be in charge. It's because men have failed. They've looked at us and said, look at this group of idiots. They have no standards. They won't hold the line. I might as well do it. And I can be just as irresponsible, just as stupid, just as unqualified as men. Why can't I? If they can do it, why can't I? I'm going to point you and direct you to the sports world to further this point. And this is why I love talking about sports and why it's important. you can see the decay of the rest of society by what's going on in sports. You have to remember what sports are. They're supposed to represent America's best values and ideas and ideals. It's supposed to represent like what it takes to be great and to achieve success in America. Oh, if you work harder than everybody else, if you sacrifice, if you carry yourself, if you're disciplined, if you're this, if you're that, you'll reach the top of the sports profession. That's what America was supposed to be about. It's no longer about that. And it's not about that because men want leadership without doing all the things that leaders are supposed to do. I'm going to, as we transition, I'm going to take care of a little business, but as we transition, I'm going to get biblical on you for a moment, and then I'm going to point you to these failed leaders and men that are rejecting standards and just want opportunities and want these positions without being qualified, without meeting basic standards. And then you can start to understand the rest of society. Why do we have so many unqualified women in leadership positions that think, hey, I can go out dressed out. I can go out at night to a nightclub, half naked, carry myself, conduct myself any kind of way that I want to. We set the standard for that. That's on us. Before I do that, I want to talk about our friends at Flying Ace. Since 2007, Folds of Honor has provided life-changing scholarships to the spouses and children of America's fallen or disabled in combat. And in 2023, this was extended to include the families of fallen first responders. They've awarded 51,000 scholarships and more than $200 million so far. And the need is still great, but together we can make sure no qualified applicant is turned away. Flying Ace has aligned with Folds of Honor to ensure the children of our American heroes receive the education they deserve. As proud supporters of Folds of Honor, Flying Ace has had the privilege of providing hope for the families of those who protect our freedom. To that end, Flying Ace is proudly sponsoring 4 scholarships awarded quarterly this year. Please, if you can, donate today and help them make a great impact. Go to flyingacespirits.com or scan the QR code on the screen. The link is also in the show notes. When you purchase a bottle of Flying Ace, you will also be donating to Folds of Honor. Make sure you use promo code Whitlock and get free shipping on every order. That's flyingacespirits.com, promo code Whitlock. No reason for me to go anywhere. No reason for me to go anywhere. I'm just going to transition right into, I want to get a tiny bit biblical here for you for a moment. I want to talk about 1 Timothy 3. The Bible spells out leadership for bishops, basically for ministers, for church elders. Spells it out in 1 Timothy. Paul, he spells the entire thing out. In our society, again, when I talk about how our society used to be based on biblical values, that's where our standards for leadership and coaches used to kind of mimic. They would take, oh, I'm a leader, so I need to reflect these standards for leadership that Paul spells out in the Bible, and that's how I ascend to a leadership position. So as I start reading through what Paul says in 1 Timothy, I want you to think about Tom Landry. Those of you that are my age and older, think about Tom Landry, Dallas Cowboys coach, suited, hat, tie. And maybe it was all a gimmick, and maybe Tom Landry was snorting coke off prostitutes' rear ends throughout his whole coaching career. But we didn't know that. And it just wasn't, in my view, it wasn't true. But maybe it was all a gimmick. But as far as public image, Tom Landry stood on that Dallas Cowboys sideline, America's team, and he fit the profile of leadership in sports, in the world, and for men. And so this is in the 1970s. Maybe Landry started in the 1960s, but he was the blueprint. I want you to think about Tom Landry. And then, if you're a little younger than me, I want you to think about Tony Dungy. as you listen to me spell out these standards for leadership that Paul spelled out in the Bible, I want you to think about Tony Dungy. I want you to think about Dean Smith, the North Carolina basketball coach. Think about John Wooden. Think about any of the great coaches from a previous era and ask yourself, did they fit? I'll give you another one for those of you that are into racial idolatry. Think of John Thompson. As I'm reading this list of what Paul spelled out for leadership, can we put the list up? As I'm reading this list, a leader must be blameless, a husband of one wife, stable, sensible, respectable, hospitable, and teachable. He must not drink excessively or be a violent person, but instead gentle, not argumentative or love money. Must manage his own family well. Must not be a recent convert. Must be well thought of by outsiders. Think about that. And how many of those boxes did that group of men that I rattled off, Tom Landry, Tony Dungy, Dean Smith, John Thompson, how many of those did they check off? Because that was the standard for leadership in America. And sports reflected that because we thought our standards came from the Bible and our coaches reflected that. And men, and again, there are rumors about all these guys or who knows what was going on in their personal life. But the way they presented themselves, the way they carried themselves publicly, they checked those boxes. And now look where we are today. Look where we are today in comparison as we reject a biblical worldview. Here's what, just in the most recent news cycles, I just want to rattle off people that got big positions of leadership in the sports world. Antonio Pierce is now the Raiders head coach. And he's a former football player, and because of racial idolatry, everybody loves Antonio Pierce being hired as the Raiders coach. The man's wife just filed for bankruptcy, and it's been revealed that he's $28 million in debt. Got liens again. And look, who knows? Maybe it's all just a big misunderstanding. Maybe it's just a bad business decision, or not of his doing. Who knows? But look, when there used to be standards, it's like, hold on, man, you're going to coach my team? I'm going to put you in responsible of a $1 billion football team organization. You're going to be responsible for leading 53 men during this season. You're trying to acquire one of the most prestigious leadership positions in all of American sports. And your credit score is in the 110s. You got $30 million in debt out here. You've been going back and forth with creditors for more than a decade. That's a distraction. And there's a reason why employers, whether people like it or not, there's a reason why employers check your credit score and start saying, oh, this is not a responsible person. Look at their credit score. They run out on their debts. They're not a responsible person. You know what? I don't want to rent this house to them. I don't want to give them a job. I don't want to because they're not a responsible person. Your credit score does say something about you. You're not just a victim. And again, when you have this types of problems, the kind that Antonio Pierce had, that's a distraction. I got $30 million in debt hanging over my head, and I have to lead 53 men. And I'm getting paid $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 million to do it. But my personal life and my business life are so out of control that I'm $28 million in debt. And maybe it can all be explained away. But again, there's other issues as it relates to Antonio Pierce. I love the fact that Antonio Pierce who am I thinking? Marvin Lewis is mentoring him as a coach. I defended that, but I'm just sorry. This is a disqualifier as for a leadership position. You can't have creditors hanging over your head for a decade that you owe $30 million and then I'm supposed to turn my team over to you. No standards. Yesterday, as I talked about J.J. Redick and the way he presented himself at that press conference, dropping an F-bomb for no reason twice, being unqualified. What was one of the first things? Don't be a new convert. What that's talking about, have some experience. Be battle tested. When you're, again, J.J. Redick just got one of the two most prestigious coaching jobs in all of basketball. It's either the Celtics or the Lakers. He's the Lakers head coach. He has no experience. And I know that they've been doing this for a long time in the NBA. And it's creeped over into the NFL. Hey, we're going to take a flyer on a guy with no experience, and as long as he got the personality. But J.J. Redick doesn't check these boxes. He's smug, he's arrogant, and he has no experience. Look at 72-year-old Bill Belichick. Look how he's undermined himself as a leader. They had been saying 24-year-old. Now I've been reading that she's 23 years old. TMZ, I think, is now reporting she's been living with Bill Belichick for the last 6 months or so. He's undermining his reputation. He doesn't check the box. He looks like a clown. He's making a fool of himself. He's being led around by his penis. That's not leadership. That's not meeting the standard. Tom Landry, maybe he had a sugar baby. I don't know. But he wasn't parading around in public. He wasn't undermining himself. This is men failing. We have no standards. Oh, are you popular? Have you had some success in some other endeavor? Hey, just give them the leadership position. You don't have to check any of these boxes. There are no standards anymore. And so we wonder why women with no standards are like, hey, I can do that. Of course they're thinking that. They should be thinking that. We're not holding the line. Bill Belichick's so embarrassed. He's 72. Clearly, he's made $100+ million coaching. He's too wise to being led around by his penis. But because we've eliminated standards, and because the actual standards now are the antithesis of what's spelled out in 1 Timothy, what Paul explained to us, it's actually better to be compromised, to be a bit perverted, to be immoral. That's the qualification they're looking for to install you in a leadership position. Are you publicly immoral? Have you run afoul of the law? Do the players find you relatable because you might hang out at a strip club with them? Those are the qualifications for leadership now. This is undermining all of American society, the failure of men to hold themselves to a standard. I'm going to give you the big smoking gun and irritate you Deion groupies, but I'm just sorry. I watched this interview Deion Sanders had with Joel Klatt, and it just blew my mind. The guy that unqualified for the position in Colorado, and I know, what do you mean? Look what he did at Jackson State. And he's been coaching high school. Prime Prep was a corrupt failure. And hey, great, he won some games at Jackson State when he had far more talent than everybody else. He cut far more corners and had far more talent than everybody else. But this whole little deal that Deion Sanders is some legitimate Power 5 coach is a joke. And if he has success, if he puts a playoff team out there, it won't say anything, like Deion Sanders is a great coach. What it'll say is, what a corrupt system we've built. Holy cow. You got to cut every corner in the world to make it in this new society we've built. I'm not saying that Tom Landry, any of the John Thompson, Tony Dungy, I'm not saying that they were faultless and perfect, and maybe they cut corners too. I don't know. But they were damn well better than what we're getting now from any of these coaches. But I want to play you some clips from Deion talking with Joel Klatt. Some of these are just incredible because they just speak to how disconnected from reality, how disconnected from substance Deion is, and just like what a sham that Joel Klatt, someone I respect, is having to sit across from Deion Sanders and pretend like Deion Sanders is giving legitimate, substance-filled answers to simple questions. I want to start with, because Deion's narcissism and his total avoidance of any self-reflection. That's how you get to be 56, 57 years old and still calling yourself Coach Prime or Prime Time, some nickname. And you're trying to live up to some persona of prime time. That's how you get to age 57. You have to be, you can't do any self-reflection at all. Joel Klatt here, this is shot number 6, asked Deion about last season and asked him point blank about postseason self-evaluation. Watch how Deion answers this question.
But you said that the only frustrating part for you was that you guys didn't sustain.
Right.
Okay, so every coach, and you do this, and you talk about it in the book too, evaluating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like how are things going? What needs to change? What can I do better?
Yeah.
You know, and having those type of goals. So take me into your postseason evaluation of Coach Prime and the staff.
Let me go back. Let me take you to my in-season evaluation.
Okay.
Because a coach knows, man. I can sit here and, first of all, I don't lie, and I'm not going to blow smoke to you. After we get our butts kicked in the Oregon game, I said, you better get me now. You better get me now. Because I knew we didn't have what we needed to play at that level of consistency. We didn't have what we needed to play at certain levels against certain teams. We didn't have everything in-house. Although we may have believed that we could compete with them, in the trenches, I knew. At the skill positions, we got that because that's the attractability that I come with first off. So I'm going to attract the skill positions, and we good. We go head to head with anybody. But when it comes to those trenches, we didn't have what we needed, and that's where we suffered. So guess what? The whole world gets to see that. And I'm not the only one saw that. So now the players that say, hey, I could come there and help, I could be part of that. So now you're able to acquire those and attain those type of young men that could get you to the next level, that could protect Shador.
Joel Klatt asked this man a direct question. And it's an important question for any serious man. And Deion purports to be some sort of Christian. Any Christian who is not able to self-reflect, stand in the mirror, look at themselves, evaluate themselves, look for opportunities to improve them. What religion is he following? What is he doing? The man asks you a direct question about, take me through postseason and how you evaluated yourself and your staff. And Deion's answer was, let me take you back to in season and tell you about these players that we didn't have. My offensive and defensive lines weren't any good. And so people were able to look and see, hey, I can go play offense and defensive line at Colorado and you know, I'm going to fix things. This man, no interest in evaluating himself. What leader doesn't evaluate themselves. We're making a joke of leadership. He's not responsible for anything. The players are responsible for everything. If the team loses, it's their fault. If the team wins, it's because Coach Prime is the greatest evaluator of talent. He's the greatest coach ever. They go 4-8. And you get asked, hey, what could you have done better? How did you evaluate yourself? I don't. Y'all defend it if you want to. I can't defend it. This man has no substance, and we don't require substance from any of our leadership positions. This is insanity. I want to play you some more gobbledygook from Deion. If maybe you can make sense of this, but Deion's got these little pet phrases, and Joel is reading this book that Deion allegedly wrote, which if you watch this entire interview, it's clear as day. Deion is completely disconnected from whomever wrote the book. Joel would ask him questions straight from the book. Deion would answer in a way that's completely disconnected from the book because Deion didn't write it. Someone wrote it about him. This is the gimmick we do now. We install unqualified people. Someone writes a book about them and pretends like this is a reflection of them. This is the whole Stephen A. Smith phenomenon, the Barack Obama phenomenon, all of these people that are installed. They have people they got a system built. Hey, we'll write a book that will provide you the substance and paint you in one light, and you just go out and pretend to be that person. Deion can't even pull off the pretending because he's completely disconnected from whatever's written in that book. But here he is trying to explain one of these. He's got this, that there's belief and then there's believers. Maybe I'm being too hard. Maybe you can make sense of this. Play SOT 7.
You talk about this idea of that you are either a believer or you are a belief.
That's right.
Can you explain that to us?
Well, a belief is what people from your hometown may say you are. People that oftentimes they're naysayers, oftentimes they give you limitations, oftentimes your belief, and they don't believe in you, they just think your belief because they hadn't seen it before. Mm-hmm. And they're not there in sync with the possibilities because you came from Fort Myers, Florida. Nobody else came from there that type of way because it was no guy playing football and baseball but a Bo Jackson, right. And they never seen that before. So the belief was you're supposed to do this. I'm a believer. That's the difference. That's the difference. That you can't put no handcuffs or no guardrails or incarcerate me mentally or physically or psychologically whatsoever because I believe. My belief thinks out of the box.
Yeah.
Although what you believe to be true, it ain't true when it comes to me.
And we saw that manifest last year.
This is like a Saturday Night Live skit. He said a bunch of words. Look, maybe I'm being too hard. Email me, fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com. If you can make sense of that, what Deion was trying to convey, please email me. Hop in the comments right now. I read the comments. In the chat, someone, if you can make sense of that, please explain it to me and the rest of us, and I'll ask these guys later. Maybe they can make sense of it. Maybe I'm being too hard on Deion. I don't know. Here's Deion given a chance to Joel ask him directly. SOT number 10, Joel asked him directly to, hey, tell me the vision of this program, your vision of this program after next year or after Shadur and Shiloh leave. Tell me the vision. And Deion's answer once again makes no sense. Play the clip.
You just touched on like your tank is full.
Yeah.
You want to do this. This is your calling. Mm-hmm. And I would be interested to hear from you. What's your vision long term as a coach and maybe for Colorado football after Shedeur, Shiloh, and Travis?
Okay, let me start by saying I'm a leader of men, not a follower of men. I'm a father, not a baby daddy. I lead my sons. I don't follow my sons. My sons, Travis included, are getting ready to migrate to the NFL. I'm not following them to the NFL. I'm a bona fide leader. I'm a daddy, man. Not a baby dad. I'm a real father. So I paved the way for my babies. They're not paving the way for me. So I plan on being here and being dominant here because they are establishing something that we're going to continue to build on for years to come. And I'm thankful that they're establishing what they're establishing.
I've spent my whole life being coached, covering coaches, writing about coaches, talking about coaches. I've never, this is pee-wee stuff. Hey, we're going to be dominant. That's the vision. That's not a vision. I'm not a baby daddy, I'm a father. That's not a vision. Those are catchphrases. It's clickbait. It's not a vision. There's no substance there. This is, maybe Deion doesn't understand what a vision is, but again, this is what I'm talking about. This leadership thing, we just give it to anybody. Oh, he's popular, and rappers like him, and people on social media like him. He's not a leader. He doesn't have a vision. I'm going to be dominant, and I'm not going to follow my kids to the NFL. A vision is, hey, we're going to be a destination for young 18, 19-year-old kids to come here and learn how to be young men who compete in football, have a chance at elevating to the professional level, but if not, they're going to leave here with a strong education and all the principles necessary to excel and be leaders in life outside of playing football. We want to be a place where parents feel comfortable sending their young men, that they're going to be in a place where their academic needs will be met, their athletic needs will be met, and their development and nurturing as strong, principled men will be met. Again, it's boilerplate, but that's a vision. Hey, we're going to be dominant. That's not a vision. And I'm not following my kids to the NFL. That's not a vision. This is a man that lives in his own head. He's impervious to what others are saying. He can't even engage in a proper conversation that doesn't revolve around the worship and the veneration of Deion Sanders. This isn't leadership. Leadership has such a humble spirit. It has such a servant mentality. He has none of that. But he fits the time that we live in. Men have rejected standards. Men have rejected a biblical worldview. And we're in total chaos and free fall because of it. You can see it in the sports world. You can see it in the rest of society. If you're wondering why a Christina Peterson, a woman is dressed like she's a stripper out for a night on the town, how could this woman be a judge in Atlanta? Look in the mirror and look at men and look at us as we have eliminated standards. No one has to meet any standard other than, hey, let's just be corrupt and be willing to do whatever. We tell you to go to a Diddy party, go to a Diddy party. If we tell you to promote X, Y, and Z, the LGBTQ, and do a Pride Night, support LGBTQIA plus Pride Night, Whatever we tell you, if we tell you we want women coaching football, you'll put women on your coaching staff. We have no standard. And then we wonder why our society is in free fall. That's the discussion that we'll have as a part of Tennessee Harmony with Virgil, TJ, and Kevin Donahue. Next, before I get to those guys, I want to talk to you about my great friends at Cozy Earth. Hopefully they're your great friends as well. Are you tired of tossing and turning on those hot summer nights, searching for relief from the relentless heat? Cozy Earth has the solution you've been dreaming of. Introducing Cozy Earth's revolutionary bedding products designed to keep you cool and comfortable no matter how high the temperatures soar. Crafted with viscose from bamboo, Cozy Earth bedding regulates your body temperature, ensuring uninterrupted, refreshing sleep throughout the summer season. I've noticed a huge difference in my sleep ever since using these sheets. And good news, Cozy Earth has offered my listeners an exclusive offer. Simply visit cozyearth.com/fearless. Use the promo code FEARLESS to enjoy a 30% discount. Cozy Earth's bedding isn't just about staying cool, it's about indulging in unmatched comfort. Their products have superior softness, achieved through a meticulous selection of fabrics, materials, and weaving techniques. And here's the best part. With their 100-night sleep trial and 10-year warranty, you and I can invest in quality and durability with complete peace of mind. Let's prioritize our well-being, elevate our sleep experience today, incorporate Cozy Earth into your self-care routine, and discover the pinnacle of comfort and luxury. Remember, visit cozyearth.com/fearless to enjoy 30% off, or use the code FEARLESS at checkout. And after placing your order, select podcast in the survey, and then select Fearless with Jason Whitlock in the drop-down menu that follows. Transform your sleep and stay cool with Cozy Earth. All right, we'll do some Tennessee Harmony with TJ Moe, Kevin Donahue, and Virgil next. They're trying to do too much because Caitlin Clark can do so much.
Riddle me that!
She can spot them, hit them with passes that they're just not ready with. This one right here, the long bounce.
Y'all are trash.
Just dribble it out to the three-point line.
If you're going to play like that, you better have shockwaves to finish the job.
You can't do that. I know Caitlin's dropped you that dime, but it's just too much. They got to get Kelsey Mitchell off the team.
Hocus pocus, get that up out of here. Look at her.
She's playing a completely different game than everybody else on the court for the Indiana Fever. She can't adjust. The coach is in over her head. Here at Blaze Media, we're going to be all over the debate Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. on Blaze TV and YouTube. We have assembled some of the most brilliant political minds to guide you through this debate and engage in some real discourse. Join us for the uncensored debate analysis you need before you hit the voting booth. It's not the tired, pre-approved talking points from talking heads that legacy media shoves down your throat. The fact is, our hosts don't always agree, which is what makes these events really interesting. It's time to bring back the age of real conversation where we discuss the issues that Americans really care about. Go to blazetv.com/debate and use the promo code DEBATE for $30 off an annual subscription and gain exclusive access to chat with our hosts during the debate, our live fact check, and totally uncensored analysis. We also have some very special announcements about the new, exciting content coming to Blaze TV. So don't miss out. Subscribe right now at blazetv.com/debate and use the promo code DEBATE for $30 off, and we'll see you all Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, welcome back. Time for a little Tennessee Harmony. No Pastor Anthony here. So, Virgil, I'm going to plug you in here and start us with a prayer.
Yeah. Father God, we give you thanks and praise for who you are. Grateful for this platform. I pray that all that we say and do will glorify you in all things. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, guys, I just want to continue the conversation I've been having with myself and with the audience. about leadership. And I think you can see the failure of male leadership through the lens of the sports world. We don't have qualifications and standards anymore for coaches. We don't have qualifications and standards anymore for judges or anywhere in society. And this is all a consequence. And again, we're all believers here, so it's not shocking to us. But I think a lot of people don't understand the consequence of a rejection of a biblical worldview. The standards for leadership are spelled out in the Bible, and they apply to more than just bishops and ministers and clergy. These standards used to apply to a lot of aspects, if not all aspects of leadership in American society, and we've moved away from that. Virgil, I'll let you get us rolling here and start it off. Am I wrong for this, for my evaluation of what's going on in the sports world and how it's applied to the rest of culture?
No, I don't think you're wrong. In fact, I love that you use the 1 Timothy passage. This is a passage where Paul, the apostle, is writing to a young Timothy who's leading a church. And he tells him, this is instruction for him, to train up other men. For them, those men who seek leadership, who seek positions of pastoring, of providing oversight, this is the standard by which we're to judge their lives. And by doing so, allow them to shepherd, to train, to disciple other people. And so I think that is the standard, right? While this is a template for a qualification for a pastor, all men who desire to honor God should aspire to this kind of standard. And so that's something that I think you're absolutely right about. Where this all begins, I believe it goes all the way back to the fall in Genesis 3, where there was a rejection of God's standard. God said, "Don't touch the tree," and the woman comes along and she determines that maybe this is something I want to do, and then her silly husband sitting right next to her, rather than instructing her in God's standard, he acquiesces and plunges the whole world into sin. And our rejection of God, our rejection of God's standard began in the very beginning. And then as a result, we see it bear itself out in different ways. One of the things, Jason, I think you're absolutely right about is if we just take a look at the last week, the news cycle, it's unbelievable. Everything from J.D. Redick to Jamal Bowman. I mean, all of these folks are just showing that they absolutely have rejected a godly standard. They've rejected any kind of standard at all. And hopefully culture begins to give them their just dues for rejecting a standard of just basic decorum about how you speak in a public setting when the opportunity presents.
We had a debate this morning about, hey, am I being too hard on Antonio Pierce? Raiders coach, former player, wife files for bankruptcy, comes out that he's got $28 million in liens from bad business deals or whatever. And I'm just like, man, what a distraction it would be to have $28 million of creditors after you for a decade, and you're still going to be the head coach. And I say this like businesses, it's been standard procedure. Like, hey, they check your credit score because it's an indication of your level of responsibility. Kevin and then TJ follow it. Am I being too hard on Antonio Pierce?
No, I think, who are we surrounding ourselves with? When we look at the life of Jesus, he picked 12 disciples, right? And he picked each one for a certain discipline, right? He knew they could each be leaders and they could take him where he needed to go. To go back to Timothy and what Paul was saying, what's interesting here, I think, is that Paul wasn't just writing that to Timothy for today. He was talking about eternity and generationally, right? So are we building leaders? What I see today, and how do you get yourself in this credit mess? It's like, I want this now. I'm thinking about me. I'm thinking selfishly versus selflessly. If we go back to what Paul was saying in Timothy, he was writing for leaders for this generation, for the next generation, and for our eternity. So I think from our perspective and from a biblical perspective, what happens is we expand our time horizon. we're not just looking for now, we're looking for the next generation and we're looking for our eternity.
Yeah, I think it seems clear to me that if you have a standard for who should be leading a church, and these are all very good things that once upon a time in America, we saw that as the highest position of leadership. Your pastors were influencing your president. It wasn't the other way around. And so we should take that standard and apply it to our other positions because that's the highest standard. Now, it doesn't have to be, your leader of a small business doesn't have to be exactly the same standard of the elders, but why wouldn't you want it to be exactly the same? I mean, again, there's a reason when you go up into the Northeast, as opposed to later on when we developed, the coolest buildings are all churches. We actually had a time where we cared about that the most. And so it seems obvious to me, and look, I take this rule, and it's not exactly what Scripture says, but like, this is why I don't want a woman president. If a woman can't lead in the church, why should she lead our country? It seems clear as day to me. So that seems very obvious. As it relates to the Antonio Pierce thing, I was having this conversation with Hadley, one of our producers, and for the sake of conversation, he's like, look, bankruptcy shouldn't be held against you. There are good people. He brought up Mike Matheny, who is probably one of the most godly guys I've ever met, and it was a really good manager for the Cardinals, took him to a World Series. And he went through some financial troubles, and he brought up Trump. He's like, Trump's had 1 million bankruptcies. And I'm like, look, there's a very big difference between Donald Trump, who has 10,000 businesses and then dissolves 3 of them for bankruptcy, versus a guy like Antonio Pierce, who has made personal guarantees and now is going through a personal bankruptcy, not a business bankruptcy. So there are big differences here. I mean, Trump losing one of his 800 businesses would be the equivalent of Antonio Pierce having a bad 3rd round pick and cutting him. It's a business failure, not a personal failure. And I get we want to help people, but as it relates to leading people and whatever you're doing, and we're talking about optimally, why would the Raiders want to choose someone who's going to have to go home into chaos? I can see why Antonio Pierce would want to make $5 or $10 million a year to start paying off his debts. But we're talking about, is this best for the Raiders? Would you rather have a guy who's going home into chaos or a guy that has his life totally settled? That seems obvious.
And I've written about this previously about like, hey, go study the 10 greatest NFL coaches of all time. And there were so many common threads among them. Married before age 25, offensive coordinators by a certain age, and there's just all these boxes they checked. They were all the same. And I used to not understand, like, oh, okay, they want you married and the kids and everything well run so that you're not out chasing your next wife or some girlfriend or whatever. They want you to have stability at home so you can focus more energy here at the office. And we're now, again, I look at Deion Sanders. I know people think I'm too hard on Deion, but again, his life has been filled with personal life chaos. And I just don't know how you install that as a leader for young men. They're going to be looking at Deion. I know I wouldn't be saying, well, look at what Deion does. I can do all. That's our standard for leadership, and we should be aspiring to something much higher. We've been having this conversation. I think it started last week, and it's spilled over into this week. Virgil, what do you think of? And I'm lobbing you a softball here. I know what you think, but my criticism of Bill Belichick and this 72-year-old with a 23-year-old, and I want you you always do this, but maybe walk biblical history, because some people will go to the Bible and say, well, hold on, man, this guy was this old and had a young, anyway, what Bill Belichick doing to me is preposterous. It's disqualifying as a leader, but I actually think it actually qualifies him for leadership in our current society.
Yeah, I think the last thing you said is absolutely correct. It probably qualifies him for leadership in the current culture in which we live. But I mean, that doesn't say much. It's not a really high bar. It would be one thing for Belichick to say, you know what, I'm in love. I'm going to marry this young lady. It's another thing just to have this girl living at his house and having sex with her and doing all the kinds of whatever else he's doing with her. In a public sphere, and it speaks to who he is. It speaks to his character or lack thereof. I think all of those things are at play. I have no idea what a 70-year-old man has in common, or even has from a standpoint of conversation with a 23-year-old woman, young girl. There's nothing apart from the physical aspects, unless Bill Belichick is really just an idiot outside of coaching. I mean, unless he's just totally dumb and just devoid of any kind of intelligence whatsoever, apart from football, there's not really a whole lot that they would have to talk about. And I would wonder what his family thinks as well. If he's got other children that have something to say about this. It's just absolutely a bad look. But that's really commonplace now. You've got these DEI hires. You've got these folks who are affirmative action hires who are showing themselves to be. You mentioned Deion, who constantly show themselves to have just a lack of judgment, a lack of ability. We've installed them. They've been installed in these positions, and they eventually show themselves. I don't believe Belichick's installed, but his behavior really undermines what the standard that he set of excellence on the football field.
Kevin, am I being too hard on Belichick?
I think, what was it, Charles Barkley in a commercial years ago said, "I'm not a role model," right? So we have to choose carefully who we're looking up to. Listen, the guy's a great football coach, maybe the greatest of all time. Do we look to him for moral character, for character attributes, for leadership? Well, for a football team, yes. For a football team that's going to win Super Bowl after Super Bowl, yeah, probably. But for a guy who's going to lead the country or lead anything else, I don't think so. And I think this isn't that uncommon. I see a lot of folks, they're successful entrepreneurs, they'll exit their business and then they'll go berserk because they don't know what to do anymore. You see this in retirement. You see this when people leave sports. They're doing something great and then suddenly there's this world out there that's not structured, or there's not a framework for them to operate within anymore. So I don't know, if this is a new relationship after he left football, then I would say it's probably a symptom of him entering into a world of chaos in a modern society that he doesn't have a framework to live into.
I think, based off of the way it's been described, it's a new relationship that now he's struggling in football. That once he started, Tom Brady leaves and they start struggling on the football field, and he can see the end. You're like, man, me and Bob Kraft may split up. I do, and TJ and I have had the conversation off air that, I wouldn't say TJ's sympathetic, but TJ thinks like, yeah, this is just a late life crisis that he's responding poorly to.
Yes. So to answer your question, he was dating this woman named Linda that everybody assumed he would get married to up until September of 2023, and everybody around him was stunned when they broke up. He went straight to a 23-year-old. And she was 22 at the time, right? And now they've moved in together. They're actually, it seems, pursuing some sort of relationship, which I just find to be so weird and something that it's we were discussing the Matt Stafford thing off air. Just like, why would you ever do that to your husband? For the background on that, his wife went on a podcast and said, yeah, I dated the backup quarterback just to make Matt angry when we were in college and getting together. And it's like, you know what that's going to do to him in the locker room? Okay. Now, do you know what this is going to do to Belichick in the locker room? Like this sort of behavior? And this is self-inflicted. That was his wife, and you're like, hey, could you shut up? You're not doing me any favors here. Belichick is doing this to himself. I think it's crazy. I think you undermine your own authority. And so it's like, how can you, because Belichick, I was in the meeting room when Belichick would say, hey, there's only a few things that can take you down. Alcohol, a-holes, and women. It's like, well, you're in bed with a 23-year-old. You don't think she can take you down? You're literally in bed with a 23-year-old. So how can you take, Belichick used to be able to preach to people, and he's actually a very good teacher. and you could take what he said as law, one, because he was so knowledgeable about everything, but two, because he had so much success and was not violating the contract he had with you in his personal life, and now he is. Like, you don't think this 23-year-old's going to take you down? You're out of your mind.
I honestly believe he's so shook up about the failure of his late career here. And again, it doesn't mean his career is a failure, but he's struggling post Tom Brady. And then when he didn't get a head coaching job, he's just sitting there stunned. And I honestly think he's being used basically to, again, just continue to lower the standards for leadership. Because now that you have Belichick out here, a clown just like everybody else, it just, well, if Belichick, he's the greatest coach, and he's 70 years, he's got a girlfriend that's 49 years younger. He's a clown just like the rest of us. How can anybody, Deion Sanders, maybe he's been married 2 or 3 times, or I'm not sure what he's got going on in his personal life, but he's had a lot going on in his personal life. Well, that's not disqualifying, because now what about Belichick? No different they do. What about Trump? It's just a consistent lowering of standards. Anybody can be installed as a leader, and we have to accept it. Throw your little biblical values out the way. Throw out what Paul said. Everybody, that's not what. And we've made faith so just personal, I guess. And I'm struggling here with the words, but it's private, it's personal, and it doesn't apply to anything else. Right. And I'm just, how did we get here? How we've removed all standards from society, and nope, you practice your personal faith within your home. Don't talk about it publicly. Don't bring those standards to anybody. Separation of God and everything is what it basically is. Mm-hmm. That's just a personal thing for you.
They started with the family, and this is why you took an old man who didn't have a family and said, if you want, because this is your theory that this is all sort of orchestrated, and they said, this is a humiliation ritual, and if you want back in, here's what you're going to have to do. And they found a vulnerable 72-year-old man who was a little bit rough around the edges for today's football, and they said he doesn't have a family to keep him grounded. He's a perfect target. Can you imagine this happening to Tony Dungy? Never in a million years, because he has his faith and he has a family, and those two things keep you grounded through emergency. And this is for him an emergency. A 72-year-old man who has won championship, sees himself as the greatest coach ever, and now he turns around and everybody's giving Brady the credit because he won a Super Bowl after him, and then he just got fired and went through a cycle and nobody wants him. So this is the midlife crisis. Yeah, I'll do whatever. How do I save my reputation? And he goes home to nothing. It turns out he didn't like that Linda woman quite as much or maybe she didn't like him quite as much when he wasn't winning Super Bowls. Who knows? But you're vulnerable without your family. You need it.
In an OnlyFans culture where any pretty girl around the world is just a keystroke away, I mean, we are all vulnerable. So this is where our faith and our family and our principles really come into play. And I distinctly remember watching this happen on television. We talk about how Hollywood and entertainment influences us. I grew up with the Waltons, with Little House on the Prairie, with the $6 Million Man, Christopher Reeve, Superman, Truth, Justice, The American Way, not violent as a superhero. Even the Incredible Hulk was sort of a gentle giant. Don't make me angry. And then we watched that devolve into Married with Children. Al Bundy's the slob on the couch whose wife and daughter run the house. Then you have a guy like Forrest Gump, right? The lovable, dopey idiot who happens to be successful. We were given these characters that took away masculinity. Then you Wedding Crashers, and they're all funny characters, Dumb and Dumber, but this is the version of manhood and leadership they gave us, which is just pure chaos.
Virgil, I'll give you the final shot.
A couple of thoughts. One is that success leaves markers, and it doesn't stay siloed. The idea that we could have success in one area and that doesn't permeate into other areas, or that we could fail miserably in one area and that doesn't permeate to other areas, is something that we've got to reject, because the reality is all of it kind of begins to blend in. So you can't be successful on a football field and then just totally ignore that and reject everything else and be a failure. You got to admit, you know what? I failed. I failed in this relationship. I've been failing at football, and all this stuff absolutely has a hand in glove kind of fit. The other thing you mentioned was the potpourri that the manner in which we respond to our faith. We're acting as if we're at a fast food buffet as it relates to faith, and we're picking the items that we want, leaving the items that we don't, and calling that our faith rather than recognizing we have a responsibility to take in the whole instruction of God from the Word of God and live that out as best we can.
Thank you, guys. Great job as always. Except for Virgil, cue up harmony, and we'll see you tomorrow.
How did we end up so divided? Stop fighting and stand tall. We used to be a nation, one united. Now we're headed for downfall. God, let your light shine down. What we need more than anything now. Harmony. Let's make a simple vow. Let's come together now. Harmony. Put all your weapons down. Love one another now. Harmony. Time for us to wake up. Choose love, my sister, my brother. See through the lies they tell us.